Shalom, greetings, everybody. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Q2UA Discussions Live. I'm your host, Brother Karis. I am here. No, I did not get fired from my teaching job. Just to set the record straight, I did not get fired from my teaching job. Although I did think that that was potentially going to happen last week, as I got called into the front office to give a statement about another teacher. I had to snitch. I said, I'm not going to snitch on my Hebrew brother. I'm not going to snitch. Problem was, when all the mess was going down, the student did pull out his cell phone as the teacher was melting down, and I was just in the background, just with my head shaking, with the look of, what the heck is going on in this mess? I really did feel sorry for the brother. I was trying to ask him, if he was a Hebrew and things of that nature, and never did get a response. But I can tell you, if he was, more than likely he may have been. I'm just saying. I'm speculating. He may have been potentially a camp brew. Just saying. Because I had to understand that while folks get in there, it got in their flesh real quick. So it was interesting to learn yesterday that where I'm teaching at, I live in Tampa. I told folks that I live in Tampa. There's no, I need to hide where I live. I'm scared. I'm scared. No, I'm not scared. Listen, Florida is literally open carry. And I've had mines for a while now. So you're not going to catch me lacking per se. You can't have your weapon on you in a school zone. That's not going to fly. You can't have it. No, no. Some legislators have proposed that idea, and I say that that is a terrible idea to allow teachers to carry, because when I was at the gym yesterday, and I'm looking on the local news channel, and it was saying that one of the, as a high schooler, I'm presuming it within the Tampa Bay area, had been shot by FDLE. So they say Florida Department of Law Enforcement. Because they say that, because understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to hide, number one, the location of where the shooting was at. Florida Department of Law Enforcement, boy, oh boy, that's very vague. There's over, like, I think 70 counties here in Florida. Thousands of schools here in Florida. So, millions of students. So they want to, I reported the news, but guess what? then you have to understand why they are trying to cover that up, because simply speaking, more than likely it was a white police officer as a school resource officer that had more than likely shot a black child. So, in order to minimize the damage and impact, FDLE shoots student in Florida. So they're not releasing the student, the identity. It looks like they updated it now. They updated it now. I'll put the article in here. It's Nassau County. But I always like to check my sources before I go on the offensive. I have that there in the chat. But that makes me really understand what's going on, because let me tell you, last year when my son was a senior in high school, this was the same game that they played. These seniors assassins are senior assassins. Basically, they go on over and they shoot each other up with, like, either water guns or, you know, uh, little air bullets, things of that nature. Nothing that causes like damage, but once you kind of get tagged, you're it. You kind of fall out, and then at the end, um, you're the person that didn't get got. Why do I say all that? Because I'm going somewhere with this thematic understanding, especially when it comes to not just the state of Florida, but when it comes to things that you're seeing nationwide. Understand that something is happening to the education system. And part of that, I'll show you right here in this article. If you would allow me to come through here, because I'm going to drop the link in the chat. And when I drop the link, I'm going to post it. I'm sorry, family. I'm a little rusty. It's been a while that I've gone through these, multiple multiple layers of different things. So please forgive me on that one as I kind of get back into this saddle that I've been able to get into over the course of a day. So yes, I'm here today. Am off, and as a teacher now, and my current paid profession. I said, you know what? Let me go ahead instead of just sleeping on in. Let me go ahead and start, just sit down, talk about some things that I hadn't really been able to talk about, especially on the Q2UA forum, and be able to go from there. So, sorry, give me a second. When you haven't used anything in so long, they always update everything. So it's hard to actually, oh my goodness. It's not allowing me to do it. I'm sorry, family. Give me a second. I'm here in the background. Trying to get some things done. I can't even do it through YouTube. Okay, there we go. It finally took. Man. All right, we're a little lagging today. We're a little slow today. But that's okay. The Most High still sits on his throne. He really does. He still sits on his throne. Hallelujah. So, sorry, family. I know that I'm trying to not, as the kids would say, crash out. Not trying to crash out on this. Mr. Copeland, did they crash out, Mr. Copeland? Cold outside now. It is down here. It is warm and humid, and it is actually extra humid. It should not be this warm here in Florida. And that is, to me, that's very concerning. That's very concerning. And yeah, I had this in the chat, so I want to go ahead. I'm going to pin this. There we go. Because I want to open this on up so folks can get on in here and respectfully give their 2 cents. Respectfully, this is a nonprofit channel. It's a nonprofit organization that is being represented, and in this nonprofit organization, we are committed to critical infrastructure and economic development. Why is that? Because as the Most High literally gave us this mandate over 22 months ago. It was over 22 months ago the Most High gave us this mandate. Now the Most High, now we see how this mandate is happening because understand, and I had stated this previously, understand what is happening to the federal workforce. And what that means, especially to quote unquote African Americans. So instead of the traditional black jobs, yeah, he was right. The traditional black jobs that folks had taken that he wants, now qualified black folks, overly qualified, quote unquote, black folks to have those traditional black jobs. Do we see what's happening? Because the whole game of DEI, it was a game. Why does DEI matter in this now Department of Education? Well, it matters because, and as we hear, sweeping cuts hit recent federal hires as Trump administration slashes workforce. Federal workers have begun receiving layoff notices as the administration moves ahead with plans to drastically downsize the government. While the full scale of layoffs isn't yet clear, the first round of cuts appeared to target employees who were recently hired and still on probationary status. Yes, you are on a probationary status for about a year. The government can cut you. And then we're going to know what's going to happen afterwards when they hit that huge debt ceiling. After that debt ceiling, they are going to have a no kidding, probably emergency declaration that's already in order, that's already been ordered, and they will then utilize. But there's one thing I want to show in this. It says, while the full scale of layoffs isn't yet clear, the first round of cuts appeared to target employees who were recently hired and still on probationary status, according to multiple federal officials and staffers who spoke to NPR on condition of anonymity. They're not wanting to talk. No one's talking. Why? Because when nobody's talking, understand foul stuff is happening in the background. When nobody's talking, understand that's why they're not trying to target black folks for recruiting, or excuse me, the military for recruiting African Americans and the African Americans. That's what's happening. They're getting rid of us. That's the first step of liquidation of a bankruptcy. I've always said this. We're a tertiary asset. Basically, we are not a primary asset. We are a secondary, tertiary asset. Who was always the asset over here in this quote unquote new world? It was them folks. Why? Because that was the decree that was set apart from not just Rome, but Rome through via Spain, Portugal, and then then the United Kingdom. And then later on transferred to the United States. It was always a transfer. And now we're in a transfer. I wanted to show this because this was a big one to me. This is from the Hill. I'm gonna drop the link, but I want to talk about this NPR article just a little bit more. So they were not authorized to speak to the press and feared retaliation from the Trump administration. There's that retaliatory word again. The elected mob boss, let's just call it what it is, the elected mafioso, it did not and does not want people to quote unquote sing. And so now that the government is now firmly controlled by the corrupt, it is. Now folks are mad. Now folks are saying, black folks, save us. You know, that brings up my formidable teenage years And it reminds me of a Master P song. I'll let folks in the chat, if you are a late 90s, if you understood rap in the Midwest and the South in the late 90s, especially there on that New Orleans tip, understand y'all will know the song I am talking about. The title of this, I wish I would play it, but as soon as I play it, I know that I will get dinged. But I want somebody in the chat to, if you have the title of that song, if you want to put that in the chat, because I want to know if we're on the same wavelength. No, it's not Don't Save Her. That's another one. But this one is a little bit more poignant for what we are working through right now. So I want to, and I'm going to come back to that song. Excuse me. Let me get back to this article. The firings are affecting a wide swath of federal workers and include employees responsible for education, small business grants, and the nation's nuclear weapon stockpile. Why are these so important? And why are they highlighting this? Education, small business grants, and the nation's nuclear weapon stockpile. That to me that's the scary thing. But honestly, if you're being liquidated, guess what? Everything's for sale. And if you're being liquidated, then guess what? There's no more internal spending. Small business grants. And if you're being liquidated, guess what? Then you want to keep people ignorant of what's happening. This is a corporate takeover. Now I said mid to late 90s there, brother Dave, but it's a corporate takeover. And now we have understood it. And I thank the Most High that we have been allowed to. Yes, we are working on that, brother Greg. There's some wires that we were untangling, but we're getting on that because this is what's happening. As we have been able to be invited to some tremendous back rooms, we have been allowed to be included in conversations that will affect how we move, how we operate, how we work. Because going back to that Master P song, because folks are now getting buyer's remorse for their vote, they want to have black people be the Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk, come and save me. Captain Kirk, I want to have your baby. There's no more Captain Kirks around here. Black folks have said we gave them the we had to bring it back to them in another late 90s edition for white folks to understand. Courtesy of Backstreet Boys, we had to tell them bye, 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 bye. So they are really, really in a conundrum because now they understand they're getting poorer. And they know they're getting poorer when they're talking about they understand they now have an egg shortage. If your population control is done by food, after it's done by food, it's done by fear. After it's done by fear, it's done by reprisals on a people group that is the vulnerable population. That's us. Do you all know where this is going to? I've told you all this. Gino in my cider is where we're going. Figure that out. Think about World War II in a certain group. Guess what, family? We are that certain group when we've been that certain group. And now all of the smoke and all the mirrors are coming off because the issues that they have playing out. It's kind of wonderful. It's not just kind of wonderful, it's literally it's playing out really in a commentary. It's like, okay, I'm not controlling this, but now we all see how this thing is moving. But before I get to that, I'm going back here to the article that I had posted here. Democratic Senator DOGE is now at the IRS. Why is that? Why are they making such a spectacle now at the IRS? Because nobody's going to pay their taxes. Plain and simple, nobody's going to pay their taxes. If you've lost your job, are you really going to file? 80% of America's tax revenue comes from individual taxpayers. 20% comes from corporations. Or I may be wrong. I think I may be flip-flopped on that. But no matter what, it's still a sizable chunk. Because if you ain't got no job, then how are you going to pay your taxes? Just saying. If you had made 150, 180,000 and now you ain't making that anymore, okay, we'll figure that on out later. Paying your tax bill is the least of your worries when you're worrying about staying in your house, paying for transportation. To me, this is a cover because why? Oh, they now this is gonna go on because now we're gonna have to shut down the IRS. So you're gonna shut down the IRS right before what, tax season? Does that make sense? And it only makes sense if you know that your country cannot pay for or pay taxes at all. It only makes sense if you already know that you can't even pay a refund check. Because why? Because you're so indebted. So number one, you shut down whatever mechanisms of revenue collection. Because it wasn't necessarily revenue collections on corporate entities. It was actually revenue collections on individuals. And individuals aren't able to pay. They know this. Why do you think they're getting mad about the data? Oh, they know the data. They're going to come for Department of Labor and Statistics next. Oh, this data is false. What do you think they're doing? Nothing that you have seen is the truth. Everything that is here is smoke and mirrors. And now we're seeing this all unfold. What did you think was going to happen? As Jacoba had stated, you will be forced to flee. Because why? Because they're going after the vulnerable population group, which is us. You can call yourself a Native American. You can have whatever eschatological assurances that you want to have. But if you don't want to read the word, then guess what? You're going to be in a world of hurt. Yeah, but a lot of people, look, they pay taxes knowing that they're working and there's a some sort of continuity, that hey, that's not a big deal. I have the same job right now this year. Hold off on paying those taxes. We'll just eat the fee. We'll eat the penalty. You're going to start to see it. Record number of Americans did not file. You don't think that that's going to happen? That is surely going to happen. Why do you think Trump is now saying we have to have an external revenue service? Because you cannot tax people into oblivion. Because understand the primary asset of this country, the secondary or the primary asset of this country has always been them. So if they are getting wild and unruly, remember, they will not be fired upon. They can go and storm federal buildings. They can go and do all sorts of crazy things. And guess what? They will be protected. So the U.S. government understands that. And as the U.S. government understands that, the vice grips is on us, so we can make the first move, and then we are heavily militarized. Because I've never been in my area here of Tampa and seen so many windows being busted out because people are getting desperate. People are becoming desperate. They're becoming frustrated. What did they think was going to happen? We said this. This place is a third world country. It was just the smoke and mirrors of not paying people. And when you don't pay people, guess what? People will talk. And when you start to piss people off, guess what? People won't just talk. They'll be singing about it and they'll put it out like a mixtape. All 14 versions of the same song. In case my lyrics weren't popping with this beat, I got this beat. Oh. But if y'all didn't know, I want to go back here. This is from The Hill. So this is from according to Senator Ron Wyden said yesterday, that the Department of Government Efficiency staffers are now examining the Internal Revenue Service, warning against access to U.S. taxpayer data. Democrats are sounding an alarm over DOGE and its leader Elon Musk attempting to overhaul the U.S. Agency for International Development, that's USAID, and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and to gain access into the Treasury's department systems. My office is hearing that DOGE is now at the IRS. That means Musk's henchmen are in a position to dig through a trove of data about every taxpayer in America. Why? Because every taxpayer in America, not just taxpayer, everyone in America, when they goes to Social Security, they're going to do that next. They're looking at the monies, okay? The monies, the device, the payments. They're looking at the soft assets, and then watch. Probably next week or a week later, they're going to look at hard assets. And I know that this is hard for people to really even stomach or contemplate that they are technically a hard asset. I know it's hard for people to really even understand that your body is birth. It's a birth certificate. It's a certificate that is literally of lading and that's sold. I'm on the hard end of that, of what my family is encountering with that system. Have your trust, have your will, have your estate planning. Because why? Because if not, by default, everything goes back to the government. Because why? Because literally from the moment that you breathe to the moment that you expire, you are a certificate or a certified asset. You're either an asset in jail or you're an asset that is not in jail. You're not necessarily free, but you're not in jail. And if you are in jail for life, that means that right now, especially in this administration, you may be potentially sold off to other countries. That's literally what had been said. I'm not making that up. And for folks that have not saw the stories or read the stories of people even being potentially being shipped off to places like El Salvador. And it's very hard for our people to understand that. People think that, oh, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. We're going to be placed in the FEMA caps. Who's this we? And here I think folks are looking too low level at this. Elon doesn't care about government contracts. That's not Elon's job. Elon's going. That's the narrative. See how easy the narrative is to feed the people. Come on, troublemaker. Come on, troublemaker. You know, you know where I'm going. That. Thank you, brother Jacoba. Shalom for gracing us with your presence here.
Hey, family, how y'all doing?
Okay, you're having some reverb or some issues on your mic. I don't know if that's me.
Okay, let's see. Let me try. I'll be right back.
Can you all hear me? Could you all hear him? Okay. Yeah, I don't know if that's me. I may have to get a new audio cord. This one's kind of may have run. So let me explain Elon's role to a lot of folks before people get caught up into this Hegelian dialect that Jacoba will definitely touch in on, because he knows exactly where this thing is heading. Elon is an administrator. An administrator to catalog debts and liabilities. Don't worry about how much money do you need to live in Africa. Don't worry about this. And I think a lot of our people have to understand some of these things. Listen, Elon is an administrator for a who? For a trustee. When you go through a bankruptcy, somebody has to go through and take an account. Somebody has to administrate all of your financial dealings. Somebody has to account for every single piece of asset and every single liability. How much money you make and how much money you spend. To be able to do what? To discharge the debt. Trump said that he was what? King of debt in his first term. What does Trump know how to do? Handle bankruptcies. You'll survive the bankruptcy, but guess what? It won't be the same. Why do you think Trump is already advocating for a third term? Because America is about to be ravaged and balkanized and sold off for parts, where a core of America will only be the last piece standing. It is a liquidation. Exactly, Sister Marilyn. It is. And folks are so distracted on Elon that they're not even telling you, let's bring this. All right, how we doing?
Is this better?
That's better. There we go. I don't know if Elon sent his AI chatbots after you. That was the robot army.
Yeah, I had to reboot. Sometime I forget to reboot, and that'll happen.
So, Brother Jacoba, what say you about the Hegelian dialect that they're putting on us? They're forcing on us, so we're not seeing the actual bankruptcy taking place.
Well, I remember we would have these conversations, and I'd be like, "Karis, how long you think we got?" "Oh, I think this." And I tell you, I think this, and now it seems that we're proving right. Right now, some people they still don't see it, but we're back in the Gilded Age, right? We're back to the early 1900s with the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts, right?
Yes.
These people have taken control of the government, which is clear for anyone to see, right? And if you think we have any laws, I'm like, look how they ignore Congress. Look how they're bypassing any checks and balances. This is crazy. And
Wait a second. Do you think that they're ignoring Congress, or do you think it's just, the dog and pony show? Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a
well,
dog and
yeah, it
pony
is.
show.
It is a
It
dog and pony show. But here's the thing, I think Congress been bought off, right? The billionaires have been bought Congress off, and so, but the whole thing is they're ignoring the Constitution, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, my whole thing, Karis, I'm gonna tell you, I'm doing my best to get out of here. I
We
I'm
all
getting my
are,
family's
Jacoba.
path.
We all
Yeah.
are. We know. And honestly, in the next couple of weeks, this is what Q2UA is all about. We're all about opportunities on the continent, opportunities, being able to come in so you will have the opportunity to do things on the continent. And here's the thing, the way that this is going, the I've been blessed to be in a position to where folks are asking for manpower, manpower from administrative to technology, technical, for developers and engineers. And Jacoba, I know that as the continent needs to be developed, what do you say in terms of what it may mean for that technological development in your aspect? What is it that you would like to see coming on the continent that would help to propel us into the future?
Technology wise,
Yes.
well, I mean, I would like to see, that the governments, help the individuals with their inventions, their technologies. It's like what the West has always done. They finance and help nurture the corporations to become big. And the problem with Africa is that they're always allowing people to do things solo, like the African kids who made that paraplegic thing from uh, parts from the the garage bin. I mean, not the garage, the garbage bin. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like you got these geniuses out there who have no backing. They don't have a lot of education, but they're smart as heck, right? And the African governments, because they take their marching orders from the West, don't help their own people. Now, Ibrahim Trail is different, right? He's anti-West, which I like. Uh, but in terms of technology,
Yeah. Are you
I mean,
looking at
look,
the chat? Are you looking at the chat? Because there are some leading questions to this. Because
I mean, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
so let me tell you, um, I have been asked to provide a an applicant pool. And again, let me tell you, I know technology, but I'm not in the weeds like Yakoba and Teyu. I'm not in the weeds like a Red and things of that nature. I'm very much high level. I can get people to where they need to be, and then I can, do follow-ups, manage all that other good stuff. But that's why I said I'm blessed today to have Yakoba on here. And I'm not trying to hijack Yakoba, but these are some of the certain things that we need, because let me tell you, the folks in these spaces, they listen, they hear us. Our brothers and sisters on the continent, they hear us. Don't think that we're just sitting in the background and oh, woe is us, we're in trouble. No, they want to bring us back, but we have had some issues, and I'm sorry, you really can't bring back folks that have issues.
For
Not right
real.
away. You know what I'm saying? Not right away. Because why? If you're coming back and you're creating more problems, then what you're doing is you are actually hurting other folks that want to do something righteously. So, I've asked Jacoba in terms of his mind and how this direction is going, right? There's critical infrastructure pieces to provide economic development. part of that is your technology functions. You can have technologies, but then you need to have roads. Then you need to have other utilities, sewage, things of that nature, medical. The list goes on and on and on. But there has to be those engineering concepts, and I would say, Jacoba, just in that limited scope of your analysis, what is it that you could see as an IT person in terms of what would be needed from that ideal applicant?
I mean, I don't really, in terms of hiring people on the continent. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I would say if anybody wants to have that opportunity, I would say this in the AI, or excuse me, not the AI. It is AI, but but they don't have that capacity for AI. But in the IT capacity, man, we would need network engineers. We would
Oh
need
yeah,
database
oh yeah,
engineers. We would need front
yeah.
end website designers. That's what we need. We need all of this. We need folks that can do apps and app integrations with API integrations and models. We need folks that, if you know anything about Python and Python languages, to provide for machine learning language models. So then you can see big data and then have that data go into different fields for metadata. Am I on the right track there,
Yeah,
Minister
but I would
Yacoba?
say this. Before all of that, we need people who would set up some data centers, right? Because right now we're using the West data centers, and even like some of the fintech companies that's in Africa, they got bought out by some of the Western corporations. We don't want them controlling Africa, right? We
Mm-hmm.
want them out, and you know, so there's a lot of things we got to do. And first, really, and maybe there's not the platform to discuss it, but there needs to be role changes, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And people who are more in tune to being like Ibrahim Traore than Rudo. And that's why certain places were never on my radar, like Kenya. Kenya is not on my radar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ghana wasn't on my radar, but since Akufo-Addo is gone, then it might be
Ghana
a place
looks
to
like
consider.
Yeah, Ghana looks like that's going to be the spot, in my
Yeah,
opinion,
it does.
especially with like a beachhead, and I'm just going to say, look, just for the sake of argument, because this is a conversation, okay, and because of how I'm bound to my contractual obligations, I'm not allowed to. I can't say anything, but what I can do is say, look, you know, if I can tell you what's needed right now, and Brother Corbett hit it on the head. We need data centers, but in those data centers, guess what? We're also going to need what electrical engineers, correct, Brother Yacoba?
Oh, definitely. We're gonna need everything that all the skills that our people have. I'm gonna tell you this. If we went
Okay.
back today, Africa would end up being Wakanda overnight.
Oh my
If the
goodness, yes, you
diaspora
just
went
would.
back.
Did you see that? And the brother didn't even have to have a brain chip. I saw the one video where the arm
Exactly.
was going. Like, stop, get
Yep.
out of here. You don't even have to have a
Which
brain chip
goes
for that. What you want to have
which
that
goes
brain
to
chip? Go ahead, Brother Kobe. You
yeah,
know I'm going.
which goes to show you that Neuralink is all about transhumanism and not
Yes.
controlling these devices.
Come on. It's to have the device control them and not be in control of the device. Therefore, you will be wishing death and you'll not be able to find it. Come on.
Exactly. There you go.
Stop. The scriptures are
Look,
literally making it abundantly clear. So
look.
do you think
I
we're going
hate
to
to
be
be the
around for
bearer.
that? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm on my second
Look,
cup of coffee. I'm all tanked up.
be honest with you, I could use some coffee right now. But but look, I'm gonna tell y'all don't like to hear. It's bad. It's bad. Y'all don't get
Mm-hmm.
it. And anytime, I'm trying to get my mama out of here. She at least listening now a little bit. Cause before she'd
Because
be like, I ain't going nowhere.
you want to know why they're listening, Jacoba? Let me tell you why they're
Yeah.
listening. Because that social security check is under
Yep.
threat. Okay?
Yep.
When the bank says they can
Yep.
and when they credit don't get it. Okay? That's what's happening. Now everybody want to
Yep.
listen when their bank accounts starting to approach that zero value. What is that? It never hits zero zero, but it's zero to infinity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's literally the whole synopsis.
So
That's the whole synopsis.
I have a question for the chat. Y'all believe us now? That's my question. Do y'all see it now? We've been telling y'all this how long?
Hey, yo,
I mean,
Jacob,
or is some of y'all still sitting there and don't get it?
yo, Jacob, I had the funniest thing. We need to have a commercial. You need to make a commercial. In that commercial, remember that old school Verizon commercial? Can you hear me now? Good. Do you believe me now? Good. He's walking in all parts of the United States. Do you believe me now?
Yeah, I remember that.
Over by the California wildfires? Believe me now?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Man. No, and I would say one of the requirements, because I'm going to be bringing that on up here in the next couple of weeks, is that we do need to have engineers. We do need to have engineers.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That's focused on computers, right? Computer background. Yeah. And I say computers because let's not get it twisted. Computers can range in a whole variety of things. We're talking about mechanical engineering. We're talking about, PE, physical engineering, construction engineering. Okay. We need HVAC. Yes, we do, because you have to have those data centers to get hooked up. Network engineers. I'm telling, it's the whole gambit. I can't, in my capacity, I can't give you everything for a data center, but that's exactly what we need to have, because this is the core foundation of how we move. We have to be able to help them with the data and the infrastructure that then will help stabilize those components.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, Karis, a lot of people don't know that the stuff we do behind the scenes, we've been planning a long time for this and trying to make sure things are set up for the diaspora, for you all. Right. And Karis and I, we get a lot of grief and we get a lot of strife and no support. But we still be looking out for the family. We still be looking out for y'all. Y'all don't know what we be doing behind the scenes, y'all.
Here's the thing. If I could only tell you, and I'm not allowed to tell you. But let me tell you this. The other day, the Most High, I was a little disappointed, but actually I wasn't. I had a piece about it, and I said, thank you, Father. I said, I understand what the holdup was, because the holdup was literally me coming out to the community and saying, hey, if you would like to have an opportunity, I can't give you a job. I'm not, that's not it. But what I can do is I can bring people in with the expectations that they'll learn how to conduct themselves as they are given the opportunities to go to the continent. This is what Q2UA is all about. Number one, we got to learn our people coming off the streets. We have to. And it took us over 22 months to be able to get to even this place. And now the Most High is literally showing, hey, within 12 to 24 months, this thing's going to be rocking and rolling.
12 to 24, 6 months.
I know, but 6 months. I was advised to, only go with 12 to 24 months. I was advised, keep those expectations on out there, especially while the world is crumbling.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you this. For me, everything is a faith walk. It's sort of like Abraham, right? Abraham didn't know. God said just go, right? And he
Mm-hmm.
just left and he went. And that's what we've been doing, right? We've been moving on faith, but also being practical and doing stuff. And here's the thing: none of us got money, right?
Wait. Sorry,
But
Over. I'm sorry, but can you think about the similarities? Come on now, with Elon sending in his ministers. His ministers are what? IT folks.
yeah,
With the Most High working in the community with his folks, what has that been? IT folks.
yep, IT folks, yep,
Come
that's
on
true.
now. Come on now.
That's true.
The devil always has to copy what the Most High does.
See, the thing is this, I know it's like beating a dead horse, but I told y'all before there's a purpose for Q2UA, right? Because,
Mm-hmm.
some people ask, well, what about those of us who don't have money? If y'all supported Q2UA and ministries that's looking out for y'all, then we could be further along than we are, but some of y'all don't care, right? I'm not trying to guilt you. I'm just saying we are in a dire situation right now, not to make you scared, not to do any of that stuff. I'm just saying the practical realities of things. And some of y'all still not going to get it. And some of y'all still going to say we fear mongering, right? And some of y'all going to be like, okay, let me go buy my new house and get all this stuff. Guess what? You ain't going to be able to afford that house. You ain't going to be able to pay for electricity. You ain't going to be able to, look, you can barely buy eggs now. What you think going to happen in 6 months?
Mm. Well, let me tell you this. So, Brother Yakoba, I've been involved in some groups that have been working behind the scenes. I was really first um, given and been privy to some information, and I'm able to kind of leak that information out, and drips, right? Because I understand. Look, this is an information war. It's information warfare. You're right. If you give too much information, then guess what? They're going to go ahead and rework that to then target you. That's just how that goes. So when the Most High had allowed for Garth and I to be on the continent back in May last year at Burkina Faso, a lot of things were provided, were shown. There's a lot of things that's happening behind the scenes. And guess what? Do you not think that a lot of our people love Babylon so much that they'll just do anything they can for Babylon? They don't want the system to fail, even in this community. They don't want this system to fail. Do you really think that they really want to end captivity if their trinkets get exposed? Absolutely not. So understand they're doing some major things right now as we speak on the continent with the African Union Summit going on. There are
Yeah.
closed
Yep.
doors meetings happening right now. Do you not think that they don't know what's
Yep.
happening? Do you not think that, okay, well, if they genocide us, yeah, I had to use the word, if they genocide African Americans, then we're the next on the chopping block.
Exactly.
That's an easy calculus. Save
Just like I
them
say,
so they can save us, and then we're going to be okay.
yeah, our people don't get it. A lot of us. I mean, y'all just don't get it. I mean, some of y'all do, right? I'm just saying, this is bad. This is just my opinion from Yakoba, because I can have an opinion, even though some people don't want me to have an opinion. This is where we got to come together. We got to work together, and we got to plan together, because that's the only way Israel ever overcame is together, right? Which is why they keep us separate. They keep us separate, and that's why they put all of these infiltrators and agents within the community so we can never come together. Look, this is the time of decision, in my opinion. This is the time of decision. It's not games. It's not like, oh, it's going to be tomorrow. No, it's here. 2025 is just like we said it was going to be. And it's going to, look, Well, I ain't gonna say nothing because I don't want to be stirring up the pot and making y'all afraid, and I don't know how to get out. I'm just saying you got to be wise, and you got to learn who to trust, and you got to move in faith. That's the difference, right? You got to move in faith.
Yeah, pray about it. I always say that. Pray about it. Pray about it. It's the Most High. That's all
You,
that there is to it.
and did you hear Elon Musk's son tell Trump, "You're not the president"? Well, who is? Come on.
Dang.
And he
Yeah.
said, "Shut your effing mouth." That's what he told Trump. And Trump sitting there like a little baby while Elon in the Oval Office acting like the boss, telling everybody what's gonna happen. I'm like, y'all don't get this?
They're showing it right in their face.
Yeah.
Trump, so then who do you think is the boss, Jacob? Because that's what I wanted to
That's a
talk
good
about.
question.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. So if Elon's administering the what? The bankruptcy. He's administering the
Yeah.
bankruptcy. Who has bought the assets? Because even when you administer bankruptcies, understand what ends up happening is assets are being sold pennies on the dollar. Assets are
Yeah,
being sold
exactly.
pennies on the dollar.
Exactly.
You may think that debt. You say, okay, it's a $40 trillion debt. Okay, is it really a $40 trillion debt, or has it been sold for 5 or 6 trillion? And who purchased it?
Yeah.
Come on now. Excuse me. Come on now. And then now you have this claim for Trump to have South Africans that are, been quote unquote persecuted, because now land is coming back from land that was stolen hundreds of years ago to family lands and deeds that have been, stolen, and they know that that's their land and they have the documents that that's their land before it was taken. What's happening? Africa did not purchase the United States. Brother Yacoba, in your opinion, who do you think purchased the United States?
Well, here it's not as simple as a single billionaire. It's billionaires, and I believe it's the same cabal that you saw in They Live, who says, we have made a 35% increase of the human power elite, right, and the rest of the world run by serpent-looking people, right? But just to be in a human level, I believe it is those associated with the WEF. All of the people associated with the WEF, they're millionaires, billionaires. That's the human power elite. That's who's behind all of this, right? It's the human power elite. It's the billionaires. It's the technocrats. It's the new oligarchs, right? It's the new gilded age. It's where what was is what's happening again, right? And so
I think this goes
we
beyond Bill Gates. And Yacoba's kind of hitting the point on the point on the head. However, I look at it like this: it's not WEF, because WEF is a Western-backed enterprise.
what
It's
is
not
not. It's
just
a
the United
global
States.
backed enterprise.
Well, it's global backed, but it is more Western controlled in the global situation.
Uh-huh.
And now you're actually understanding what BRICS represents. And there are articles, I could go over this. There are articles that's literally showing the same, the BIS structure, that where Trump was getting mad because why? Because they were trying to bring together Saudi Arabia, well, yeah, Saudi Arabia via United Arab Emirates. So it was United Arab Emirates, Indonesia, China, and like Malaysia and some other countries that were non-Western to do global settlements. That was the alternative to SWIFT. Oh, the Vatican, to me, yeah, the Vatican is a player, but literally the Vatican's getting X'd out. So the snake is really collapsing on itself. And then you have to understand, when they take everything, it's not just the legal social, economical, financial impact. It's also the spiritual and religious impact. It's a whole 5 corridors to this. They don't like to talk about spiritual because why? Because if they do, they understand it goes back to the Vatican, which goes back to Rome, which then ties back to Greek, which then ties back to who? Yasharel. It goes that far back. So now, because it goes that far back, and there has to be that separation, to me, my opinion is BRICS, which by default is headed up by China. Let's just keep it plain and simple. That is where the liquidation is happening. And under that liquidation, Xi, via his other cohorts, will be the trustees of the debt collateral instruments that they have purchased for pennies on the dollar. Because why? Because it becomes purchased for pennies on the dollar when you have a standard of wealth attached to a mineral or commodity, which is what, brother Yakoba? And
Which
what
commodities?
which commodity that's right now the most volatile, that's on the rise the most? Even our Canadian prepper brother up there was freaking out about it. The
What,
gold.
the earth? Oh, okay. Because I
Yes, the
know right
gold.
now, what they call it, the earth minerals, that's a
Mm-hmm.
big thing. Probably even more so than the gold, because even they want to get that from Canada. That's why Trump will take over Canada. They're trying to get that from Ukraine, which is why they're making
Mm-hmm.
a deal with Putin. And then South Africa said, we're not giving you any more earth minerals, because this whole Trump sanction thing. So they want that, and I mean,
So
here's what
so
I
what
think.
what
Here's
happened? What happened, Yakoba? You just saw it on the right. You're talking about chess. You just saw the chess moves. You saw the bricks chess moves.
yeah, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You
So
saw the bricks chess moves, and guess what? America got X'd out. So what is
yeah,
America
yeah,
going to do? They're going to fight. They're going to lose the war, and then they're going to start fighting each other because they lost the war.
yeah. And here's the other thing, right? I did a show in the past. One of my theories about the Antichrist. The Bible says Kaji stigma, which is 666, right? And Z, his name is in it. The mark, his name, and the number of his name is Z, right? Xi Jinping.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if he's the Antichrist. I don't know if Trump. I mean, Elon Musk could be the false prophet. But think of this for a second, right? It's sort of like my brother and I would be having discussions, and we talked about how China was allowed to grow because they were like Africa, right? They
Mm-hmm.
weren't going anywhere, and so now China is more advanced
Yep.
than any other country in the world. I mean, have y'all seen their technology? Right? They
Mm-hmm.
far surpass us. They already have the social credit system, and not only that, they were involved in the cookie and the lollipop,
Mm-hmm.
right, to take this place down. Now, according to the scriptures, the 10, which I believe is associated with the bricks, they're gonna hate hate the whore and burn it with fire, and they're going to give power to the beast. They're
Mm-hmm.
gonna give their power to the beast. Now, whether that's the UN or it could be Xi Jinping, because he's part of the 10, right? And that's what we sort of see in the scriptures, that the 10 gonna give their power to this figure, right? And I don't know if it's Xi, but it could be, because they seem to be the ones, with the cabal, right? Because the cabal is separate from governments, right? The
Mm-hmm.
the cabal is the bankers and the technocrats, the billionaires, millionaires, the oligarchs, the robber barons, all right, the modern robber barons, and that's what we have. And guess what? Most people don't know what's happening right before them.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be too late. It's gonna be too late to do anything. And I would suggest that you all fast and pray about this, because we really do need the Most High to intervene. You know.
We do, and I'm going to tell you this. Do you think that it's a coincidence that Trump's border czar tells Pope Francis to stick to the Catholic Church as Pope slams mass deportations? Why is that? Because I
Hmm.
believe this. I believe that as the script gets played on out, as the script gets played on out, everyone in the world has to have a reason to, quote unquote, hate the United States. And what will that reason be? Plain and simple. You all stole the children of the Most High and you made us go around, along with the charade. How wicked is that? You made
You
us
think
go
they gonna
along
let that
with
out?
at this time. And the reason
I'm,
I say that is yes. Yes, because here's the thing. Here's the thing. In the scenario that I'm looking at, in the framework that I'm looking at, I put this framework together many a time, even from last year. Jacoby, you even know when I've been giving you those emails. China is going to make the deal, and I think they've already made the deal. We bring your people back. You come into a arrangement with us for at least 100 years, right? The arrangement is, hey, help us to help you and help us with these commodities.
that's interesting. That makes sense too.
Makes sense. It makes
You
perfect
know,
sense. And I've been saying
it
this
does
for
make
3
sense
years. I've been saying this.
because
Go
even
ahead.
in I mentioned this in my last show that and I think you might feel the same, Karis, that I sense there's something going on behind the scenes. There's negotiations happening, right? And
Yes.
I'm gonna sort of talk about that later a little bit on my show this afternoon. But uh, there's something going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Because why? Because why? China will be seen as the good guys. They're the good
yeah,
guys. Later
that's true.
on, the good guys then show their face as they're the not good guys. In our generation, in our generation, they will be the good guys. In our generation,
Yeah, yeah,
and
because
that's
power
how
has
that
to
goes.
pass from the West. It has to go because
Yes,
the West is under judgment and power is shifting. And we know that in the
yes,
scriptures, that's what's supposed to happen. The 10 gonna come to power.
exactly. So our generations that come out of here, they're not going to be fooled.
Yeah,
Wait a second. If you're saying that these are the people, and we're not even in this part of Revelations, we're not even in this part of prophecy, then you're telling me that this is basically Gog versus Magog, and then we have to be in a land, for 1,000 years. People are going to forget that.
yeah,
Their people are going to forget it. Our people, no, we're not.
yeah.
Oh, we're not. Look, this is standard core curriculum. That's why the Most
So
High has
there's
me up in them schools right now. Okay, now I understand how to do the standard core curriculum.
so there's like 40 something million supposedly African Americans in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Based upon the numbers I ran, depending upon how they move with it, it'll take 3 to 10 years to get everybody on the continent, all right? Assuming you believe in the second Exodus.
Mm-hmm.
So that would mean assuming, and I think the more optimistic one would be 3 years at least, in my opinion.
Why would it be that
To
long? Why would it be that long? I think it won't be 3 to 10 years. It won't.
The only way it could be less is if the United Nations is involved in it and it's a mass global effort to get us over there. Now,
Ships are
otherwise it's
targeted.
going to be, yeah, otherwise it's going to be, we got to, you know, Cause here's the thing: they still got to coordinate with us. Who's getting on what ships? Who's getting on what planes? What y'all bringing over there, and what y'all allowed to bring over there? Where you gonna live? Which African nations are gonna put you up? What shelter they got for you over there? They're gonna put you in the camp, or they're gonna put you in some homes. What food? Cause remember, we're gonna be in the wilderness experience just like our ancestors, so it ain't gonna be all guns and roses either, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah, it'll be interesting, but it's not going to be to where look, you have a people that have medical conditions coming on out of here. It's not the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
as, the last captivity. It is not.
Yeah.
So do you
Yeah.
not think that the Most High has to take that into account? Absolutely. We're going to have
Yeah.
facilities. We probably may even have homes. We probably may even have, different communities and things of that nature, that's protected communities, right? Because why? Because as a people, we're very vulnerable.
Yeah.
We're very, very vulnerable as a people. You want to know why? Because our vulnerability shows even right here. So what
Yeah.
do you think's going to happen over there? We have to learn. We have to learn what the naivety was that brought us in captivity to begin with. We have to learn
Yeah.
how to work with our people. Not to say that we can't work with our brothers and sisters for the rest of Yasharal. No, it's we have to learn to work with ourselves first, because if we don't know how to work with ourselves, working with ourselves require us to learn ourselves, and it requires us to love ourselves, because we're dealing with the people been that has been the subject of self-hate. I see that in these classes constantly. I don't know, Mr. Copeland. I have it in my head. I don't know what to say, Mr. Copeland. I'm not sure, Mr. Copeland. Do you know what that means? When I see an 8th grader, a young Hebrew boy that can't formulate a simple thought, but he understands what's happening. You know what that means? That means that the brainwashing has become complete for him. And when I bend over and I sit down and I have him give him the confidence, I know you can do this. You have what it takes. You just now need to break through and put it on the paper. I literally have to say, in these not so spiritual terms, break through the block and believe that you can do it, because I believe that you can do it. Do you know that that's probably the only bit of Yahusha that they see, is that they see Yahusha in me? Because we have to be hearers and doers of this word. I want them to go home and I want them to say, man, Mr. Copeland helped me to turn this around. And guess what? He helped me. Look, it's because I want them to come back. When I'm done with that, I want them to say, listen, that wasn't me, that was him. Who's him? The son of the Elohim of our forefathers. And we're not even allowed to say that. You realize how crazy that is? You're not allowed to even state where your power is, who your power is. These kids are just like yearning for the truth, because you can tell they're living in lies. And when you've lived in so much of a lie, you are literally you're yearning for the truth. Mr. Copeland, can't you tell us the truth? Mr. Copeland, can't you? No, I can't. I'm sorry. I wish I could, but I can't. But I would say you have to start outside of the United States for the truth. And I would say you probably want to start in Europe. This, here's a funny story. Yesterday, and here's crazy. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it on this platform. They did 2 weeks. They did 2 weeks of Black History Month. 2 weeks, and then after the 2 weeks, what do you think they immediately moved to, Brother Jacoby? You know this. After they talked
After
about our
2
plight,
weeks.
after they talked about our plight, not really, but for 2 weeks, what do you think they moved off to?
Of course, they moved over to European history, right?
And who in the European history?
Christopher Columbus.
Well, he was one of them, but what in European history? I would say as it pertains to World War II, who did they talk about?
Oh, Hitler?
And then it was them folks.
Oh, they did, huh? Not surprised.
Not surprised, because why? Well, yeah, that's bad, but let me tell you what the deal that's going down. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a Palestinian girl in my class. She calls the ruckus. She calls the scene.
So how did you handle that one?
How did I handle that one? I said, yeah, we're not going to try to get political in here. There's no need for that. So let's concentrate on the assignment at hand. And I turned it off. Because why? Because that was the immediate programming.
Yep.
That was the immediate programming. One of the people that, she's a Gentile. He said, okay, well, I want to do this lesson plan this week or, and this and that. I said, yeah. I said, you know what? I said, let's not. I said, let's have the kids, really understand these things. I said, because, I know a lot of the kids, especially when we had talked about Black History Month and things of that nature, and we're living in a very interesting time that what you're showing them is you're showing them that I want to run away from the truth of the matter. And, the Gentile lady is like, oh, yeah, I didn't really think about that. Yeah, you make a good argument. So we were able to change up the curriculum because I gave some fine points. I didn't have to emotionalize it. No, I don't need to do any of that. Just give them a convincing argument. And then, I was able to get the curriculum changed up, and now we're having a quote unquote African American writer. And then the week after, we're doing some makeup for these other assignments. No, I'm not. And now you can definitely understand who runs Florida's curriculum. Because why? Because they have the money to change that up. We are not in power. And it's horrible to see that you're literally showing how a genocide is going to take place. That's what's happened. And that's what's happening. And you can tell that these kids, especially our kids, they're hearing these things on YouTube. They're hearing us in these channels. They're hearing us in these, wide, disparate places in the, what would you call it, Yakoba? the YouTube frontier?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? We're just because we're on the outskirts. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving that Star Wars, analysis. We're on the outskirts of the AI YouTube enterprise. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to talk to folks.
Oh yeah, having a tap dance around everything.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you one thing, people need to be ready because 2026, the Texas Stock Exchange is supposed to come online. Mm-hmm. And why do you think they need their own stock exchange? Well, they've been dealing with the New York Stock Exchange forever, because Texas is about to secede from the union. There's going to be separations going on, and basically America is going to be balkanized, right? Some of y'all going to be living in the Texas Union, and some of y'all going to be living in the North American whatever, Canadian / whatever union, and some of y'all going to be living in the California. It's going to be a different world. Watch.
You know, there was something that was very, very, I think, nascently said, and I say nascent just they're putting it on out there, but they're kind of putting on out there in passing. That you have Governor Hochul, the governor of New York, actually considering making a move to leave the United States.
Wait, he's talking about that?
That's what she's talking about.
Who's this?
And this is Governor Hochul, the governor of the United
Of
States.
New
And I
York?
wanted, so it, sometimes, and these are on the YouTube street. So I wanted to see if there's,
Oh.
any truth or validity to that. But here's the thing. Um, New Hampshire has put in their state's constitution that if the federal budget goes above $40 trillion, that initiates a constitutional, a state constitutional referendum to vote to remove themselves from the United States government.
Wait a minute. This is starting to make sense
You
because
didn't see that? Yeah, I showed you
no,
that
I
a
didn't see
while
that
ago.
one. But now that you mention it, the whole thing with what Mississippi doing and how they passed the laws that if you're caught in Mississippi as an illegal immigrant and can't prove your immigration status, you're in jail forever, right? And so then I think it was Minnesota passed something recently. I forgot what it was. Y'all probably remember. But there's these individual state laws that's being passed that's contrary to the Constitution. Now it's starting to make sense. They are already deciding to split off.
Man,
This
let me
is
put
starting to
this
make
on in
sense.
here. Let me put this on in here. This is Legiscan. Look, I'm not making this up. I'm putting this right here. I'll show this screen. Let me show this screen. Sorry, give me a second. So you all can see this. Here you go. Bill text. This is a bill. Bill text NHCACR 2024 regular session. Bill relating to declaring independence from the United States, providing that if the national debt reaches $40 trillion, New Hampshire will
Wow.
declare independence and proceed as a sovereign nation.
So what's the debt at right now?
They said that right now, indefinitely postponed, adopted. So they postponed it. It didn't die. They're going to bring that back up. It was introduced. And here's the legal provisions on this relating to declaring the independence from the United States of America. Wow. If the national debt reaches $40 trillion, New Hampshire shall declare independence and proceed as a sovereign nation. Sponsors, Rep. Gerhard for some district, and then State Federal Relations and Veterans Affairs. The Constitutional Amendment concurrent resolution amends the Constitution to provide that if the U.S. national debt reaches $40 trillion, New Hampshire will succeed from the Union.
So currently we're 36.22 trillion in debt.
And did I show you the other day? Republicans ask for 4 trillion in debt ceiling increase. Let me show you this. You can't make this up. This is Colorado. I'm gonna go with Colorado Newsline. No, let me go with AP News. I showed this yesterday. I do my own little bit of research there, Brother Yakoba. It may not be about the land on the continent. All right, here we go. Do you see that right there? Let me go ahead. Did I put that in the chat? Let me make sure. Okay. Yep, I put that in the chat for the legislation. And let me make sure I put this in the chat right here. Control C.
So I guess that means New Hampshire might bring that bill back up for vote.
That's correct. So now House Republicans unveil blueprint to extend 4.5 trillion in tax cuts and lift the debt ceiling. Here we go. This is as of February 12th. Can't make this up. What does it say? And I'll read it for those that are looking. House Republicans. This is February 12th. This is AP from Kevin Freeking and Lisa Mascaro. All right. So House Republicans released a budget plan Wednesday that sets the stage for advancing many of President Trump's top domestic priorities, providing for up to 4.5 trillion in tax cuts and a $4 trillion increase in the debt limit. So the U.S. can continue financing its bills. Wait a second. What's the debt limit at right now?
Yeah, the debt limit is 36.22 trillion.
The debt's at that. The debt is at that right now. They're just doing emergency measures to keep spending going for vital spending. So what they're trying to say is we got to raise money so then we can save money. Does that ever work? We got to get more debt to get out of debt.
Especially like with the whole tariff thing, right? The money gonna come from us for the tariffs, but we're not gonna have any jobs. So how they gonna do that?
Any jobs, exactly. So you see how this goes around. You see the argument that I'm making, the case that I make. Your Honor, I'd like to put before you, Your Honor, the case of how we are never going to pay nothing back and how we will be enslaving our own people.
See, I'm thinking when I look at the scriptures and try to figure out how these things can play out, based upon what the scripture says about fleeing, makes me think that there will not be this global governmental effort to help us to get back, with the UN and all these things, right? Which means it could take a while for us to leave. Is that if these states secede from the union, we're going to be given the options of, okay, you could become a Texas citizen, or you could become a California or a New York citizen, or you can go back to Africa. And most black folks going to be like, I think I'm out. Or maybe they're going to give us a, maybe they're going to give us a, maybe they're going to give us an offer we can't refuse.
Yeah, exactly. An offer you can't refuse that has a barrel pointing at your forehead.
Yep.
That offer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Charles West says $36 trillion. Yep. And now, what's 36 plus 4?
40.
40. Now, let me go back to this right here. State of New Hampshire, right here. Concurrent resolution proposing constitutional amendment to declaring independence from the United States of America if the national debt reaches $40 trillion. New Hampshire shall declare independence and proceed as a sovereign nation. This was the resolution that they're bringing on up. Don't think that this resolution died. No, it did not die. This resolution is still on the table because why? Upon the United States national debt reaching $40 trillion, New Hampshire shall peaceably, what does the word say? Peace.
Yep, when there is no peace. Yeah. I can see how we can easily get that $4 trillion overnight, which is war in the Middle East, Iran and the Ish people. That it'll be $4 trillion and more, right?
Oh, it'll be look. I listened to a person called Johnny Bravo. He's very, right wing, but he does have good information. You know, you got to eat the meat, spit out the bones with some of these folks. But they will increase the debt to about, some were saying about 50, 51 trillion, 50, 51
They
trillion. So
have to.
they're going to print to oblivion. So understand, we're not going to leave on our own volition. Because why? Because our money will be worthless.
Yeah.
Unless you're there on the African continent and you're literally sending money over to help us going through this crisis. Help the children of the United States in their time of need. That's literally what it's going to be. They're going to, y'all think that I'm being crazy. They're going to send over United Nations via the auspices of the African Union. What say you, Brother Koba? Is it starting to make sense?
Yeah, I mean, look, just my spiritual discernment thing. I have no inside info, but I sense this is the most important African Union meeting that's going on this week. Ever. Yeah. Yep.
There are so many things going on with the buildup of that, with the sixth region, with all of these things happening, the work that's getting ready to get kicked off afterwards. There is a lot. And I'm asking folks to get ready. We're not here to be politicians at Q2UA. That's not us. We're here to get the work done. We're here to fulfill what is being asked of us right now. The Most High is literally moving. And as Jacoba had said, $4 trillion. What you think that $4 trillion is going to last like what? A week, or not a week, a year? 2 years? No. At most, that $4 trillion is going to be like 6 months, maybe.
And just think about this. Trump is already cutting government programs, services, all these things right now. What do you think that money that they're gonna get for the 4 trillion gonna come to us? No, that's going to go to the corporate oligarchs, right? And it's gonna go to the war machine, and it's gonna also go towards the suppression of those who are left here in the states. Which with this, because I guarantee you, the only, like I mentioned on my show last time, the only reason Elon Musk brought in programmers and network guys is because he's implementing AI. That's why, and he's going to implement the social credit tracking system. Right, he already pulling money out of banks, you know, out of New York. He took what they say, what, $80 million out their bank.
He's taking
right,
money.
And they were like, well, that, yeah, you know.
So let me share this one. This was from The Hill, and then I'm gonna wrap this on up because I know you got to get fresh, Jacoba, for scaring people today. I mean, having people concerned.
And I got to get me some sleep too.
You got so this is the last article right here. It says here, this is as of yesterday. 14 states sued Musk and Trump, calling billionaires' rule unconstitutional. Now, here's the whole reality of this. Woodrow Wilson, back over 100 years ago, he did the same thing. Woodrow Wilson did the same thing. And then when he did what he did, he immediately went to war in World War I. Because World War I was just simply being able to have a change of monetary policy within the United States and the rest of the world. What ended up happening was that the Federal Reserve was created, and out of the Federal Reserve was the IRS. Internal Revenue Service. So now you have a new Federal Reserve, which is no longer all that federal, and it is no longer all that internal. And guess what's happening? It's now going to be an external revenue service, i.e., the masters no longer live amongst the peasants. So 14 states sued Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency and President Trump on Thursday, arguing that the tech billionaire's sweeping efforts to cut government spending are unconstitutional. The coalition of states led by New Mexico alleges that Musk's expansive role as the head of DOGE violates the appointments clause of the Constitution, given that he has not been confirmed by the Senate. So they're going to try and get him confirmed by the Senate. And guess what? It doesn't matter. Even if he does get confirmed by the Senate, it's still a dog and pony show. Musk's seemingly limitless and unchecked power to strip the government of its workforce and eliminate entire departments with the stroke of a pen or click of a mouse would have been shocking to those who won this country's independence. They wrote, there is no office of the United States other than the president, with the full power of the executive branch and the sweeping authority now vested in a single unelected and unconfirmed individual as antithetical to the nation's entire constitutional structure. Oh, okay. So now we need to make it constitutional. Oh, okay. So now we're going to pass this on through. Okay. There it is. They did this the last time for the Federal Reserve. They did this the last time for the IRS. Do you think that maybe, over 100 plus years ago that people were up in arms? That the U.S. Treasury note became a federal note? That it became consolidated from a government to a group of people? This is what's happened. This is the world we live in. Now we understand what is going on and how dire this situation is, because you're witnessing the rise and you're witnessing the fall, because the rise is going on in Africa and the fall is happening here in the West and the United States. Final comments, Brother Yakoba.
Yeah, so we were expecting something to happen in 2025, and it is happening. I still don't think most of the people, especially our detractors, are going to understand what's happening. Why? Because they caught up in the matrix. They'll never see it, even though it's staring them in the face. To me, at least, it is clear as day, right? What's happening. And that, like I said in my show, this is a coup d'etat. It's a different type of coup d'etat. But it is definitely that. And understand this. Some of us have our, scary face on, right? Oh, what am I do? What am I do? What am I do? Yakoba's scaring me, blah, blah, blah. No, this is the time to seek the Most High. Mm-hmm. But it's also the time, in my opinion, to prepare. See, a lot of times we say, I don't have enough money. None of us have enough money, right, Care? And the thing is,
it's just a blessing to be on every day, for real.
Yeah. But the thing is this is my philosophy. You can have your own philosophy. Whatever you have in your hand, use it. Whatever preparation you can make with what you got, you do it. Because, see, I'm walking by faith. I'm walking by the fact that my Father says He's going to get us out of here. But I'm also walking by the fact that He says we're going to flee. So I'm preparing to be able to flee, whatever that looks like. I can't tell you what that's going to look like, right? But I got to, use the knowledge and the wisdom that the Most High has given me to prepare for me and my family, right? To do, when the Most High say move just like that, right? And so I'm going to tell you this. If you're not seeking the Most High, if you're not making preparations, because here's the thing, if you can't see that the curses are reversing, and look, even them folks complaining now, right? That's never been the case. It was always us. Even they're complaining because everybody's being hit. But they don't realize, because look, I was watching the video and they were like, yeah, we're slaves now. We feel, I'm like, yeah, duh. I'm like, isn't that not what we told y'all? Right? Everybody thought we was hating when we said they're going to go into captivity. Can you see it now? It's not going to be the same way it was with us. But, you know, you're not going to have any food. You're going to be eating Z bugs, right? You're going to get Z cookie and Z lollipop. You know what I'm saying? It's like, look, no, maybe I'm, look, maybe Yacoba wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, and all of this gonna go back to normal. Don't hold your breath. But that's all I got, fam. Praying for y'all, praying for us, and you know, good sharing with your brother Karis, and you know, hopefully the things that the Most High have for us pan out and soon. Let's put it that way, because it will pan out. Let's
It will
say
pan out.
soon.
It's not
Yeah,
hopefully.
it will
It
pan
is
out.
going to pan out. And the question
Yeah,
is, you know, will we be in the position to go
yeah,
full steam ahead? You know, and I know we will. The Most High always provides for that, you know. But what the Most High does provide for is He gives us the understanding to get affairs in order, right? To come on into Q2UA to, you know, let us know who you are, you know, so you can see what we're about and so you can understand what we're getting ready to accomplish on the continent. That's just how this goes. We're not going to be going there just willy nilly. It's not. It's not going to happen. And I thank the Most High that, you know, for all of these things that had happened, I had to say, Father, thank you that it happened, because I understand that as this thing happened, it happened for your glory. It wasn't a setback, it was actually a setup. So I'm excited. Brother Yacoba, thank you. If you'd like to give to Q2UA, you can do so by visiting Q2UA.org. That link is strolling on the chat. Quest2nightafrica.org, Quest2nightafrica.org. Again, we're some very exciting times. And with that said, family, Most High willing, I will be back on Monday. If, you know, on President's Day, if just in the morning, I still have to work. But we'll see how things are definitely happening in the interim. So with that said, family, shalom and be blessed, because the rise and the fall has just begun.